Human belief is chaotic. We constantly gather new evidence, reassess our environment, and calibrate our confidence in thousands of competing ideas at once. Formal epistemology attempts to tame this chaos through a rule called probabilism. This is the mandate that a rational agent's degrees of belief, their credences, must strictly obey the mathematical axioms of probability theory. For decades, philosophers justified this rule using pragmatic Dutch book arguments. They proved that if your degrees of belief violate probability theory, a clever bookie can offer you a series of bets that guarantees you will lose money, regardless of how the world turns out. Evaluating human thought based on casino betting treats epistemology as a behavioral game. The modern veritist movement argues that the sole foundational value of a belief is not its practical utility, but its accuracy, its absolute proximity to the truth. By removing financial loss from the equation, epistemologists face a strict mathematical burden. They must prove that obeying the laws of probability is an inescapable requirement for minimizing error. Proving that probability is required for accuracy relies on a strict mathematical structure known as an epistemic utility argument. The first premise of this argument requires us to define an accuracy measure. We need an objective scoring system that calculates exactly how close a specific degree of belief is to the actual truth. The second premise requires a universally accepted decision-theoretic rule. Once we have our accuracy scores, we need a logical standard that dictates how a rational agent should evaluate those scores and choose between different epistemic states. Combining these two premises yields an epistemic norm. In this framework, the output is the mathematical mandate that beliefs must be probabilistic. Epistemic norms are no longer assumed as philosophical intuition. They are rigid, derived consequences of valuing accuracy above all else. To satisfy the first premise, we model an agent's epistemic state as a credence function. This maps any given proposition to a real number between 0 and 1, representing absolute doubt up to absolute certainty. The omniscient ideal sets the standard for perfect accuracy, a credence of exactly 1 for a proposition that is true and exactly 0 for a proposition that is false. To measure an agent's distance from this ideal, epistemologists use the Breyer score, also known as the quadratic scoring rule. It calculates the squared distance between the assigned credence and the omniscient point. This plane maps credence on the x-axis against epistemic utility on the y-axis. If true, a curve sweeps upward, heavily penalizing credences further from 1. If false, the math flips. An intersecting parabola penalizes drifting from 0. This geometry satisfies strict propriety. Any probabilistic credence function mathematically expects itself to yield the highest accuracy score. A valid accuracy measure cannot incentivize self-deception. If your scoring system tells you that adopting a different belief would make you more accurate by your own current standards, the scoring system itself is flawed. With the Breyer score locked in as our accuracy measure, we apply the second premise, the decision-theoretic norm. Traditional rational choice theory relies on the concept of strong dominance. If action A yields a higher practical utility than action B in every possible state of the world, action B is strongly dominated. We translate this into the epistemic realm as undominated dominance. If credence function A proves more accurate than credence function B in every single possible configuration of the universe, credence function B is mathematically irrational. Choosing a strongly dominated epistemic state guarantees you will be more wrong than necessary. The ultimate state of reality does not matter. You will incur a heavier accuracy penalty no matter what happens. When we combine the Breyer score and undominated dominance, we can finally test what happens mathematically when an agent's beliefs violate the laws of probability. This multidimensional space represents every possible credence function. Within it exists a specific flat hyperplane called the convex hull, containing every single set of probabilistic credences. Any non-probabilistic credence must exist entirely outside this hull. Because of the Breyer score's geometry, there is always a point directly on the probabilistic simplex that is closer to the omniscient ideal than the node floating outside. The projected point on the simplex strongly dominates the point outside it in every possible state of the world. If your beliefs violate probability theory, there is an alternative probabilistic mindset guaranteed to be strictly more accurate than yours in every possible universe. This geometric proof relies entirely on the assumption that accuracy is defined strictly by proximity to a 1 or a 0. Philosopher Bram Oddy challenges this assumption through the verisimilitude objection. He argues standard scoring rules fail to account for how truth-like a false belief actually is. Oddy proposes a thought experiment. An agent is attempting to form a credence about the exact number of stars on the national flag of Suriname. The ground truth of this scenario is clear. The flag of Suriname features exactly 1 star. Consider 2 irrational agents. Agent A assigns 50% credence to 2 stars and 50% credence to 3 stars. Agent B is 100% certain there are 2 stars. Both agents assign 0 credence to the actual truth. The Breyer score calculates epistemic utility by penalizing absolute certainty in a falsehood. It punishes Agent B more severely for being 100% wrong, but Agent B's belief in 2 stars is closer to reality than Agent A's split belief involving 3 stars. The scoring rule ignores this truth-likeness. If our mathematical tools fail to reward beliefs that are closer to the truth, the geometric proof of probabilism may be perfectly optimizing for a flawed definition of epistemic value. Despite technical objections regarding verisimilitude, epistemic utility theory provides the most rigorous framework for rational belief. Probability is no longer just a statistical tool for gamblers or a heuristic for datasets. It is the fundamental mathematical geometry of truth-seeking. Straying from probabilistic logic is a mathematically demonstrable choice to be more wrong than necessary. Epistemic utility theory strips human rationality of intuition and guesswork. It reveals our search for truth as a precise mathematical optimization.